Hi everyone. Recent statistics reveal the staggering impact of IP theft, with counterfeit and pirated goods accounting for an estimated 2.5% of global trade, amounting to over 400 billion US dollars annually. And this figure only includes goods moving across borders, not those that are domestically produced and consumed, nor losses from online piracy. But it's not just about the economic harms. We also need to consider the disastrous effects of IP crime on our well-being, from the health and safety risks posed by consuming these products to the environmental impact of disposing of IP infringing goods. The detrimental effects can be felt far and wide and demonstrate the pressing need for effective enforcement mechanisms and global cooperation. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Danny Marti, who oversees the global public affairs function at Tencent, a leading technology and entertainment company. Danny has enjoyed a long career in both public and private service, dedicated to intellectual property, policy, and innovation. Most notably, Danny served at the White House as President Obama's U.S. Intellectual Property Enforcement Coordinator and was sworn into office by then Vice President Biden. Throughout his long career, Danny has been at the forefront of combating IP infringement in all its forms. Hi, Danny. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Todd. It's wonderful to join you today.
I'm going to cut straight to the chase. Why should anyone care about IP enforcement?
Well, this is a question that is near and dear to my heart, right? The works that intellectual property seeks to protect are the works that drive much of our cultural and economic lives, right? Think about creative works, everything from music to TV, film, books and articles, video games, moving over to patented inventions, or even branded goods. These are all around us. And these IP-dependent works support millions and millions of jobs in our communities and around the world. But this is one important dimension. But there are more beyond just the need to protect a company's or a creator's investment or creativity. People should care, and I mean really, really care, about an effective intellectual property enforcement environment for a number of additional reasons. Trade in counterfeit goods, for example, can compromise the integrity of our supply chains and may contribute to significant public and health and safety risks. But illicit trade in counterfeit goods can also subvert human rights through the reliance on force or even child labor, and may endanger the environment through irresponsible manufacturing or disposal practices, right? Trade in counterfeit goods almost never is associated with good labor conditions or responsible corporate practices like paying taxes. There's also case after case where these types of illicit IP activities are used to fund transnational organized crime. So, you asked me, why should people care about intellectual property enforcement? It is to protect and reward the inventor, the creator. It is to support consumer public health and safety and the security of our supply chains. It is to demand respectable labor conditions and to stand for more sustainable environmental practices. And I could go on and on.
A great answer. Thanks, Danny. We first met when you were in the Obama administration as the Intellectual Property Enforcement Coordinator, or IPEC. What did you see as the greatest advantages to a White House level position for coordinating the many departments and agencies involved in IP enforcement?
Todd, as you know well, the challenges to IP protection around the world are enormous. So as a White House official working under the president, you're given really important authority to convene different groups under one literal roof, the White House roof, to find solutions. Now, this may have its own challenges at times, but I think on balance, this type of centralized approach does add focus and help add some shortcuts to bureaucracies that come up from time to time.
And what do you think is currently the biggest challenge for IP enforcement, particularly in the video game industry?
IP creators and owners face a number of different challenges, right? Including scale and volume, as well as geographic scope, right? We have a saying that it's a small world, but the truth is it's a pretty large world with a number of different laws and jurisdictions And effective IP enforcement often requires a global plan, and this can be quite challenging. Another challenge is access to high quality data. Rights owners will have their own data to help lead investigations, while law enforcement, on the other hand, will have special tools and, of course, authority in order to help prosecute and go after certain IP crimes. But the two really need to be able to work together and connect.
Are there any trends you believe will significantly impact the landscape of IP enforcement in the near future? And how should policymakers and right holders prepare for these changes?
I mean, there are always new changes and challenges that one needs to confront in this field, right? Take for example, for the longest time, cargo tended to be shipped by boat or train. And with the rapid rise of e-commerce over the last few decades, customs offices around the world really needed to quickly shift their attention from containerized cargo on one hand now to small parcels coming in through mail in very high volumes. So, today all eyes are naturally on the advancements on technology and what that means for companies and creators who depend on IP. And I think rights holders and policymakers really need to study and understand these shifting landscapes, right? You can't speed past the problem if you're going to find strategically aligned solutions to address the problem.
Great, thank you. And collaboration between law enforcement agencies and private sector is often crucial in combating IP infringement. How can these partnerships be strengthened, and what incentives can be provided to encourage greater cooperation?
I mean, Todd, you're absolutely correct, right? These partnerships are crucial. As I mentioned a little while ago, rights holders have information about their own intellectual property rights, about infringement that might be taking place, while law enforcement has their own powers and authorities. So what I've been very proud to see over the last several years is a number of public-private fusion centers be stood up around the world to really help bring private and public together to help address the issues. So in Europe, for example, Europol, The Hague has such a public-private fusion center, as does the city police in London. In the United States, for example, we see similar fusion centers with the Department of Homeland Security, the IPR Center, as well as the National Cyber Forensic Training Alliance in Pittsburgh. These and similar groups around the world are really trying to bring together the rights holder community with some law enforcement community to be more effective addressing some of these truly global issues.
Finally, we talked about IP enforcement on the macro level, but zooming in a bit, how can small businesses and individual creators who may have limited resources effectively protect their intellectual property from infringement?
Yeah, I've been in the IP space for over 25 years now, and intellectual property is admittedly a difficult field for many small and medium companies and individual creators or innovators, right? Everything from filing and securing your intellectual property right on the front end to the need to enforce your rights should an issue arise. Fortunately, many intellectual property organizations around the world have seen this difficulty for small and medium individual creators and rights owners, and they have set up programs for small businesses and individual creators. And we also see that at the regional and international level, beyond the National Intellectual Property Office. We see that, for example, with the European Union Intellectual Property Office, and of course, even with WIPO providing additional assistance and education to small and individual creators to be able to navigate the space. When it comes to enforcement, it does become more time and resource intensive. However, I would encourage small and medium and individual rights owners to look at trade associations that might exist in your region or in your particular industry. These trade associations are quite cost effective to join when you're relatively small, and they have vast amounts of information because they might be representing hundreds of similar companies from big to small and really know how to navigate the space and can bring some additional tools, resources, and know-how and help accelerate the small business learnings in this particular space.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us today, Danny. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mission Imagination. IP enforcement means different things to different people. For companies, it's an imperative legal instrument to protect their investment and ensure fair competition. For consumers, it's a guarantee of product quality and safety. For creators and innovators, it's a unique asset providing a competitive advantage for further growth. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Danny Marti, and make sure to follow our channel so that you don't miss upcoming episodes of Mission Imagination. Thanks for watching. Until next time.